welcome to TBD. Not field notes, not dissertation diaries. I am quite enamored with the name Scholar's Garden. Maybe this is part of my Scholar's Garden. Let's take a deep breath. Let it out. So I'm pretty sensitive. I think that's an understatement. And so this morning I thought I was gonna have like a kind of relaxed day, and so normally I skip breakfast. I do intermittent fasting, but today I was like, I'm gonna have breakfast. And I went to a local cafe and I was like, I'm gonna do some reading and I'm gonna splurge and have breakfast and a peppermint mocha. But then I started consuming information as one does, and was watching a video. It was a video about research, but then it was also getting into some of the systemic issues of why research can be hard, right? Hardly anyone is thriving right now. Anyways, it was like brief, obvious. Everyone I know knows these things. Even the people who want to pretend that they don't know these things know these things. But it just, today it hit me so heavily, and made me feel quite sorrowful. And so I didn't actually, I ate my bagel, and then I never drink sweet coffees, so I didn't even finish my peppermint mocha because it was too sweet. And then I was like, okay, I have this collapse right now on my chest. I kind of want to cry. I've already done a lot of my self-care activities today. I did a long, intense breathwork session. I did my daily gratitudes. I studied Italian. I'm trying to get like 5 minutes a day in at least. And then one thing that I did, so this is like an update about the depression side of things. I don't know why I decided to do this standing up, but here I am now. I'm feeling good. I mean, not right in this particular moment, but generally pretty good. And one thing I had done maybe 3 weeks ago, I was like feeling this way every day, every morning, and then it would be like 4, 5, 6 p.m. and I'd be like, oh my God, I need to work. And that's when I would come to my Scholar's Garden and get work done. And it just didn't feel good because it, first off, feeling like your chest is gonna cave in because you're so sad doesn't feel good. And then to just have this constant thought in my head, like you should be. So I started to research a little bit of what was happening. And then one potential thing that came up was my sleep. And I think I mentioned I use THC to sleep, and then I found out upon further digging that it can prevent REM sleep, and then we need REM sleep in order to wake up feeling fully rested. So I changed it up. So instead of and I was taking like way too much to sleep, but it was like what was required. And so I was like, okay, well, anyways, like I think part of the reason I have trouble sleeping is because I feel pretty hypervigilant throughout the day, just as my own personal baseline given my background. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I can work with that instead of the sleep aspect. Like working on the sleep aspect is actually working on the symptom, not the problem. So now I'm like decreased the THC to like a quarter of what I was taking, and I'm microdosing it throughout the day. And I think it's helping. I am sleeping better. And until this morning when I just got a little upset by the state of the world, it's been working well. So what I did, I went to the grocery store and I bought some junk food, some chips and chocolate, and I did force myself to get tempeh so that I could get some protein in my day. And I was driving here to my Scholars Garden, forgive me as I tested out the new name, and I was like, I want to lie on the floor for the rest of the day. Instead of doing, I might still do that actually, that's very likely gonna happen today. But what I'm wanting to do today is like kind of do a process vlog-ish, behind the scenes-ish of how I deal with this, because like I have my own personal sorrows, we all do, but then we have this collective situation, which is just constantly grating on everyone. So I know that I'm not the only one. And so I want to show a little bit of what the process is, if I'm not powering through. And then my goal by the end of the day is to get, let's say, a good, better, best goal. The best case scenario, I spend 5 hours working on my project. Better would be 4 hours, and good would be 3 hours of work done. It is, I have no idea what time it is. I'm not even wearing a watch. No, that's not gonna show me. I think it's like around 11 a.m. Maybe noon. I don't know. I have a long time, basically. I have spaciousness to not force this to happen. And so, yeah, I'm gonna do some, I don't know if it counts as decluttering when it's just like the original clutter, because I moved into this space and haven't had time to move into this space. But my bookshelves are surprisingly hard to find, like not total crap bookshelves. And so my books have all just been on the floor. But this weekend, my housemate lent me a bookshelf. He said, "This is made out of black walnut. You can't have it, but you can borrow it for a very long time." So I need to dust that. Anyways, I'm gonna do some decluttering work. I might do some floor time, we're gonna see. But I thought I would just document the process of, I guess what I'm doing is allowing myself to feel my feelings, to feel my sensations. I'm not overriding because I don't need to today. And to try to, I guess what I'm trying to do is replenish my spirit so that when I get to the research phase, when I get to those times, it can be from a place of overflow rather than extraction, a place of joy and enchantment rather than production. So I think that's what today is gonna be. Okay. Just gonna take you along. I might hate this. You might hate this. Everyone might hate this. Or we might love it. I don't have a mini fridge, but luckily it's very cold outside. And so I can just put this in the window I was really craving Coca-Cola, but like that Coca-Cola flavor. So I'm excited about this. Yeah, I'll probably have to put my sweater back on in a minute. I had to crank the heat up, but it'll settle. Okay, a nice Coca-Cola flavored with St. John's wort. What a better way to replenish my vessel. I don't know, when I was a kid, I hated that, like, I don't know if it's real or not, but you know, there's like off-brand Coke and then Coca-Cola. Now off-brand Coke has that flavor that they put into like bottle caps. I used to hate that flavor, but now I've been enjoying it. My life would be better if I still didn't like it, but here I am. Welcome to my vlog, welcome to my brain. I want to say something quick about my books. I don't organize them. I think, I guess I think of it kind of similar to the Zettelkasten. I also think that organizing just reinforces silos. And so if I know I have something on a specific topic on my bookshelf, I like to go over and just like scan, and you know, yes, it takes a little bit longer than if everything was organized, but then I can pick out books that I didn't think of, but that are relevant to what I'm doing or have sparked an idea. For example, just as I was putting this together, I was like, oh, I have a couple of books on writing stories, and I'm about to do this paper on autoethnography, so bringing that in. And then the autoethnography reminded me of how Merleau-Ponty was very, very drawn to developmental psychology, and for some reason that I don't know, I have a book called The Secret Spiritual World of Children, because at some point that sparked my interest, and it was, I'm gonna guess this one was like in a free pile or something, sparking. And then, you know, as I'm trying to film this process, I haven't actually read these books, but I bought both of them by Tricia Hersey. Rest is Resistance. I don't know what the difference is, honestly. There's two of them, Rest is Resistance, and I just wanted to pull those out to be like, yes, you're not procrastinating right now. Sometimes I do procrastinate, but at this very moment, I'm not procrastinating. I'm doing something that needs to be done as a way to not do utilitarian productivism that is brutish and austere. And then I pulled out these two books just because this one I only pull out when I'm looking for like a certain fairy tale, or when I'm using this tarot deck. So like this is, I know this one is very use specific, and then this one I need to take to my pottery studio, so. But yeah, so I wanted to bring these out to be like, to show unorganized thinking. So I have this anarchist book that I have only read like the first section of, next to Edward Said's Orientalism, next to Sylvia Federici, Beyond the Periphery of the Skin, next to The Gift, and this is the first edition, so it's called Imagination and the Erotic Life of Property. I did get the third edition because it's updated, but I'm gonna keep this one because I love the title. Next to Courting the Wild Twin by Martin Shaw, next to The Practice of Poetry, which it looks like it's writing exercises from poets who teach. So this is kind of a surprise. I don't know, I just don't organize my bookshelf because not having it organized allows some spontaneous thoughts and connections to emerge that wouldn't otherwise. So I'm not gonna have enough room on this bookshelf, but I'll get things started. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get as far as I can. After this Coca-Cola break. I'm trying to be a little careful in how I place my books just because I got this this edition of the Arabian Nights. It's an annotated version. It's really beautiful. And I had it up on my bookshelf at home, and you can see how warped it's gotten. And I think I was just doing that thing where the back was stuck out. So if anyone has tips for bookshelves that aren't actually meant for books, maybe it is meant for books and I'm just supposed to have it pushed back all the way. Maybe that's what I'm gonna have to do. I'm just gonna have to push it back all the way. We'll see. I will say, I'm doing this without music on, just my own thoughts, just my own body doing movements. And I'm already feeling a little bit more centered. Somatic work or centering work, it doesn't have to be on a yoga mat or official or anything like that. It's just about taking the time to slow down and come back to center. And today, this is apparently my somatic work. Your miles may vary. You gotta find what works for you, but I think not having any input right now is really helping. Just letting my brain kind of settle down a little bit. All right, I don't know. I think that this is as far as I can really get today because I want to use this bottom shelf for like snacks, and I have my seltzer water over here and stuff, and just to give it a place to be. So yeah, now I think I'm just gonna sit. I'm not ready for floor time yet, but I think I'm gonna sit and probably do like a little bit of journaling. Yeah. So for my journaling, I typically will journal on 3 things. I pull daily tarot cards just to kind of get a vibe, but to get the creative brain flowing, the symbolic brain flowing. I will mark down the moon phase to help me remember my cycles of waxing and waning and being in alignment with the natural world. The moon is this mirror. And then I will journal about my menstrual cycle because I'm not in alignment always with the moon. Right now I am. But I need to match my waxing and waning cycles to my own body, not to the lunar body. So I start with journaling on those 3 things. I have a whole methodology that I use around this kind of day-to-day cyclical living. So I'll do some check-ins with that and see if that is or is not practically possible. Like sometimes my body wants to be in a deep rest phase, but that's also the week that I have 3 group presentations and a paper due. And so I'm like, okay, practically that's not possible. Okay, so what am I gonna do differently to accommodate both my needs my practical needs and my physical and energetic needs. So I'll go over that, and then I'll just go from there. Journal what's on my mind, and that changes day to day, month to month, year to year. So I'm gonna do that. And then I forgot, I went to a craft fair in town, and there was an herbalist, and she had this, it's called the ladder. She said it's called that because it's like a ladder out of your depths. And it has reishi, oats, ashwagandha, tulsi, and rose. So it's good for supporting the heart. Okay, I'm gonna do my thing. Okay, so I feel in a much different space than I was like an hour ago. I still don't know what time it is. Because this is my phone. So now I did some organization of my physical space and my mental space, and as I was wrapping up that little bit of journaling, I was thinking I ended with 2 questions that felt very important when I get into this kind of like frantic or depressed state of like, what are you doing? And to be able to name it. And I was like, okay, actually, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Everything's falling apart. I might look calm on the inside, but my brain is like, I was like, no, actually, I do know what I'm doing right now. I am trying to finish this semester and all the papers and presentations. It's a short-term goal, but I know exactly what I'm doing. And then, what do I want is the second question. Just trying to be, what I'm trying to do is just be more intentional as a way of claiming agency in my life. For so long, I just kind of followed little inspirations and trails, and then when they led to dead ends, sometimes it didn't matter and sometimes it did. So I try to ask myself often, like, what do I want from this? And genuinely what I want is just for this semester to be over. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that answer. It is what it is. So, feeling like I am ready to sit down and do some work. I'm on days that I am feeling less grounded. I'll use something like the Pomodoro timer to help me focus. I don't need to use it all the time, but I think I'm gonna need to use it today. And so I'll do like 25 minutes on and then 5 or 10 minutes off, depending on how I'm feeling. But I know that I want to start with 1,000 words of writing. And so I'm not ready to start writing on any of my papers. Well, one is ready for revising, but I don't feel like doing that today. So I'm gonna spend some time writing my next newsletter, and I'm trying to think of what to write it on, and I think I'm gonna write it on the power of questions. Beyond academia. In the last video I talked about Richard Feynman's 12 questions. I just mentioned those questions to you that I added to my journaling to help really center myself in my own agency and experience. And then yes, in academia, the research question, the thesis question, and thinking about how, one thing I've really been thinking about is being multi-passionate, and how everything is a pharmacon, and how that has dual nature as well. And I think that sometimes claiming to be multi-passionate is actually a way of staying in this like non-productive hamster wheel of consumption, really. So I want to explore that more. So there was a YouTube video that popped up on my feed that I hadn't watched, something about having a silent vocation, and I just have a little intuition that that's going to be helpful. So I'm gonna watch that video, and then what I'm going to do is, before writing, to get myself into my body, so that it's embodied writing. I'll do a little exercise, sometimes on my own, sometimes a guided one. Today I'm probably gonna use a guided one. I can use as much help as I can get today. And then I'll sit down to do my writing. So watch the video, embodiment exercise, writing with, for the 1,000 words, I don't actually think I'm gonna use the Pomodoro timer. For me personally, especially with the embodiment exercise and an idea already seated in my mind, I don't have a problem to sit down and write. So that's what's next. I've got to get my computer. Okay, I am excited about that video about silent vocations, and it brought in something I was thinking about death, and how our fear of death and avoidance of death, that's what I was getting to with the like being multi-passionate can be this hamster wheel where we never commit to something because we refuse to acknowledge that we have finite time, right? So you brought up that as this way of like, if you are living with this silent vocation and having, which I get to via questions, then you're not afraid of death, and you have this kind of access to eternity. So I'm glad that I watched that video. Yes, inspiration in the research process, following the twinklings of what you think is going to be exciting. And sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. So I only watched half of that because I think watching this or writing this newsletter is going to take a while. And so like, like some authors have talked about actually stopping their writing for the day in the middle of an exciting idea. So, which seems counterintuitive, right? You want to like write until your blood dry. But that's what we're trying to avoid. We don't want to bleed ourselves dry. So then when you come back to the page the next day, it's like, oh yeah, there's that idea that I'm excited about. And instead of draining yourself and then recovering, stopping while you still have time, and then having something to jumpstart the next session. So I'm thinking, hopefully, we'll see how that works with this video. Is that like, oh, I'm like, oh, ideas, sparks, fireworks in my head. Let me pause so that I can come back and get more fireworks later if I need them. Yeah, so I'm gonna lay down on the floor, do my embodiment exercise, And then I am gonna set the Pomodoro timer just because of where I am today. I may ignore it or not, we'll see. But for now, that's what I'm doing. I just got distracted by this pot of mine that broke, sadly, and then I want to do kintsugi on it. There's something weird going on with the clay. Anyways, doesn't matter right now. I'll deal with it later. Okay, embodiment. I have had this blanket since I was in high school, and I still love it very, very much.
Welcome to the sense writing lesson body mapping floor. Come and lie down on the floor. And in your own time, you can begin to walk around, slowly walking around. Here.
990 words. I'm gonna keep going for one more minute. Okay, 1,008 words in about 26 minutes. This is really equally there's my little tomato timer. This is really one of the big reasons that I am such an advocate for myself and others for writing from the overflow, from doing embodied writing, because now it is 1:38. I've been in my office space for not quite 2 hours. And these words, because I did that pre-work, that embodied work, they just came. I didn't have to fight them. I didn't have to wrestle them out of me. It wasn't like pulling teeth. In some cases, I was almost struggling to keep up with all of the ideas that I had pinging in so many directions. So I'm gonna stop the recording now-ish, start to wrap it up. Really what I wanted to show was not so much my full day of working, but rather my process of studenting as a highly sensitive person, as someone with PTSD, as someone who experiences anxiety and depression, and how to embrace those states and allow those states to exist while also working with them in a variety of ways. I've talked about it, like I come at this from 100 directions. And like, okay, I watched that documentary on that billionaire Brian Johnson on Netflix. And one of the critiques was like, he's doing so much that like this isn't a real scientific experiment, and because you don't know what's working and what's not working. And I, whatever, I don't care about that guy. But in my own life, I am not a scientific experiment. Sure, I'm an experiment, a creative experiment. Let me try this and see what works and what doesn't. But my existence is not meant to be put under rigorous, empirical, scientific methodology. I want to try everything because this is my life. This isn't a research project, So yeah, I'm doing a lot. and it's paying off. It is paying off because I right now feel so much different than I did this morning. I feel genuinely like I have more energy right now. And it's not just because I drink that Coca-Cola. It's not a Coca-Cola, it's a cola. ADK cola, to be exact. I don't know, that's what they have at the co-op. That is why I do this work. That is why I champion pleasure. That is why I champion embodiment, because the result is profound. Yes, it can be frustrating to show up at my office and know that I have 3 papers to finish and a newsletter to do, and to feel like I just want to melt into the floor, and then to be like, well, I guess I know I have so much to do, but I'm gonna organize my bookshelf and lay on my floor. Anyways, I guess I'm gonna have to stop this because the heat is turning on now. But that's it. That's my process. That's how I do things. Okay, bye for now.